What if I told you America's most powerful states, the ones everyone dreams of moving to, are on the verge of collapse? Not next decade, not in theory, but right now, as debt skyrockets, cities flood, power grids fail, and people flee in silence. California, Texas, Florida, once unstoppable giants, may be crumbling under their own weight, and they might take the rest of the country down with them. So which one falls first, and who's next? Number 1, California, the dream that's becoming a disaster. For decades, California was the place where dreams came true. But in 2025, that dream is becoming unaffordable, unlivable, and unsustainable. Once the 5th largest economy in the world, California now leads in some of America's most disturbing statistics: homelessness, poverty among the employed, and wildfire destruction. More than 180,000 people are living without shelter, not because they're lazy or unmotivated, but because even working full-time isn't enough to afford rent in cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco. Sky-high taxes, rising crime, and overregulation are pushing families, professionals, and even major businesses to leave the state in waves. And the environmental collapse is only making things worse. Wildfires rage longer and stronger every year, destroying homes, lives, and entire towns. Insurance companies are backing out. Power grids are vulnerable. Even clean water isn't guaranteed during extended drought seasons. California isn't just struggling, it's standing on the edge of something irreversible. Number 2, Texas. Booming, but breaking, Texas has marketed itself as a symbol of freedom and prosperity. It boasts no state income tax, a fast-growing economy, and an attractive lifestyle. But beneath that booming surface lies a system on the verge of cracking. The 2021 winter blackout exposed how fragile Texas really is. Millions were left freezing in their homes, some even dying. And in 2025, the power grid remains dangerously unstable, underfunded, and isolated from the national grid. Massive growth in cities like Austin, Houston, and Dallas has triggered a housing crisis, traffic overloads, and infrastructure stress that the state simply isn't prepared for. The southern border faces a daily influx of migrants, leading to tension, overburdened services, and heated political battles. Texas has size and strength, but it's also building its future on a foundation full of cracks. Number 3, Florida. Drowning in its own success, Florida continues to attract retirees, tourists, and corporations. But it's also at the front lines of a climate emergency, and the cracks are becoming impossible to ignore. Rising sea levels, monster hurricanes, and insurance companies fleeing the state are putting enormous pressure on homeowners. People are watching their life savings vanish as their homes become uninsurable, or worse, uninhabitable. Coastal cities like Miami and Tampa face chronic flooding. Hurricane damage in the last 2 years alone has cost billions, destroying infrastructure, closing schools, and leaving thousands homeless. Meanwhile, new legislation and political polarization are pushing out teachers, doctors, and families, leaving gaping holes in healthcare and education. Florida is still sunny, but beneath the surface, it's fighting to survive a storm that never ends. Number 4, Arizona. Drying out, falling apart. Arizona's greatest resource is running out: water. The once mighty Colorado River is shrinking, and Lake Mead is at critically low levels. Entire communities are facing water rationing. Farms are going dry. And development is slowing down, not because people don't want to move in, but because the land can't support them. Extreme heat is now part of daily life. Summers reach dangerous temperatures for weeks at a time. Energy costs are soaring, and lower-income families are suffering most. Meanwhile, political divides over immigration and resource allocation are deepening, sparking protests and mistrust. Arizona is a state that is slowly becoming uninhabitable. Not in the future, but right now. Number 5, Illinois. Debt, decline, and decay. Once the industrial powerhouse of the Midwest, Illinois is now bleeding jobs, talent, and stability. The state faces one of the worst public pension crises in the nation. Budget deficits, mounting debt, and repeated tax increases have driven businesses and residents away in record numbers. In cities like Chicago, violent crime remains high, and public trust in safety, governance, and economic opportunity is collapsing. Schools are underfunded. Healthcare systems are stretched thin. Young people with ambition are leaving for cheaper, more promising states. Illinois is slowly slipping into insolvency, and no one in power seems willing to fix it. Number 6. New York. The Great Urban Exodus. New York has always been bold, ambitious, and loud. But in 2025, it's becoming known for something else: decline. The state has lost hundreds of thousands of residents since the pandemic began, not just to the south, but to smaller, more affordable cities where families can breathe and build without the crushing weight of endless taxes and housing costs. Manhattan's business districts sit half empty. Small businesses are closing in record numbers. Violence in the subway, mental health crises, and political infighting have all added to the sense of exhaustion. Even upstate towns, once full of promise, now face depopulation, poverty, and neglect. The New York brand still sparkles, but behind the lights, the infrastructure is aging, the people are tired, and the future feels uncertain. Number 7. Louisiana. Sinking beneath the surface. Louisiana is literally disappearing, 1 square mile at a time. The coastline is vanishing, and cities like New Orleans face constant threats from hurricanes, flooding, and rising sea levels. Over 2,000 square miles of coastal land have already been lost, and experts warn that some communities will be underwater within decades or sooner. But the crisis isn't just environmental. Poverty is rampant, and public services are crumbling. Louisiana has one of the highest incarceration rates in the world, failing education systems, and a healthcare system that's on life support. Jobs are scarce outside of major cities, and the economic divide between rich and poor is massive. Young people are leaving, and those who stay often feel abandoned by their leaders. Louisiana isn't just struggling, it's sinking in every way imaginable. Number 8. Nevada. The mirage is fading. Nevada is known for Las Vegas, glittering lights, and desert dreams. But behind the glamour, the state faces a water crisis that could shut everything down. The Colorado River, Nevada's lifeline, is drying up fast. Lake Mead is at record lows, and water cuts are already hitting farmers and cities. Las Vegas depends on massive tourism and casinos, industries vulnerable to both climate and economic downturns. One major recession or disaster could send the state's budget into freefall. And as the population grows, so does the pressure on housing, electricity, and infrastructure that was never built to handle this scale. Even in wealthier districts, water restrictions, rising costs, and urban sprawl are painting a dangerous picture of a future built on a mirage. Which state will collapse first? This is not a scare tactic. This is the result of years of ignored warnings, mismanagement, and a failure to adapt. Each of these 6 states, California, Texas, Florida, Arizona, Illinois, and New York, faces a different crisis. Some are environmental, some are economic, some are deeply political, but the risk is real, because collapse doesn't happen overnight. It begins slowly, with people leaving, trust breaking, and systems straining under pressure. So the real question is this: what happens when a state finally breaks, and no one can fix it?